of live video today, but we're live once again.
We're back. We're back because there's always lots to talk about. Let's face it.
Okay, so today this is a Missing Millions episode where we're going to be given some real life advice, tactics, strategies. We're going to talk about investors that are on the sidelines because they have a story around whether or not the BRRRR strategy still works. Now, Patrick, why don't you start by defining what the BRRRR strategy is? Like, just give us a kind of an overview of how it works.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, BRRRR, we talk about BRRRR, we can talk about fix and flip, but ultimately where you're buying a piece of property, you're renovating that piece of property, you're refinancing that piece of property, and then you're either going to sell it or you're going to put it into your rental portfolio. But ultimately, when you're flipping it back to yourself. So the long and the short of it is you're buying a property that you're going to have to put some work into. You're going to renovate that property, bring the value up, and then pull some capital off the table one way or the other in a refinance, a resell, whatever you might want to do.
Yeah, and in this tactic, which is a very good tactic, it's a great way for people that have a limited amount of capital to essentially recycle their deposit capital. So they're putting it into the market, they're adding value to a property, they're refinancing, they're taking as much of their capital back out. Sometimes you get it all out. Sometimes you don't get quite all of it back out. Sometimes you get more than you put in out. I've done that many times. So it's depending on the type of deal. Now, the question is that a lot of investors are asking themselves, does this tactic even still work given how expensive properties have become? And I guess that's where we're going to start the conversation, Patrick, because there is this theory that this tactic doesn't even work anymore. Like especially in places that have gone crazy with appreciation, the Simcoe County area, the GTA, just about everywhere. BC, you guys have seen incredible growth. Even Alberta has seen like 90% price growth in the last 12 months. I mean, we just got off Facebook Live with Brett Turner. So there's been a lot of growth. Does this tactic still work? Is the question I think people are asking themselves.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we know the tactic still works. You have to be very cognizant of what's happening economically, but the tactic absolutely works. And you have to have a plan A, plan B, and do the things that you need to do to risk mitigate. Here's the challenge that people face is they read the headlines, they read about how prices are out of touch and there's multiple offers and there's all these things going on. But there's one fundamental that, sophisticated investors know. And that, number one, if you have a great investor-focused realtor, there's always opportunities showing up before they even get to an MLS. And secondly, I don't care what the market is, JG, there's always a motivated vendor that has to sell for some reason, whether it's a divorce, a death in the family, a loss of job, a transfer. There's a number of reasons that you're going to find a motivated vendor where you're actually able to buy the property under market value. Now, having said that, it's not like you're walking down the street picking up diamonds and gold. You got to dig for it, and you got to put a little bit different marketing strategy to actually uncover those deals. But it is 100% possible, and the upside is worth the effort, is all I'm saying in this regard. But that strategy still works, and it's a very effective strategy. You just have to change how you work it, because to what we know is real estate is, it's right now it's a hot thing to do. So you got to look under the mainstream of what's happening, and you got to get to those motivated vendors. But there's always 100% of the time motivated vendors.
So if you look at the formula, right? So it's buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. That's what BRRRR stands for. So we got to break down every individual component. So let's look at purchasing, the buying part. If it's too expensive in a particular market, or you can't find good off-market deals, or even if you cannot find good on-market deals, one option that a lot of real estate investors never consider is you can move to another location. You don't have to buy in your backyard. You don't have to buy where you live. And there are other deals in other cities that are still backed by economic fundamentals where the BRRRR tactic might work better. And that's something that a lot of investors don't even consider. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you look at renovate, right now, definitely the prices of renovations have gone up. There's no doubt about that. Luckily, lumber is coming back down. Patrick, by the way, lumber here in my area in GTA is holding under $4 for a 2x4, which a few months ago, it was $12 for a 2x4. So the good news is that's come down significantly. The renovation costs are now much more in line with what they're supposed to be. That's very, very good. But it's really about the rent. If your rent and your refi, if that formula holds true, see if the purchase price skyrockets and the rents don't follow, then you're going to have a problem with the formula. Also, if your purchase price skyrocket and your rents follow, but your refi values don't follow, then you're going to have a problem with the formula. But in this case, what's happened in the last 18 months with COVID, all three elements, the buy, the renovate, the rent, and the refi, they've all gone up in tandem. So even though prices have escalated in some markets 20, 25, 30%, so has the refi value and so have the rents. And when all of those things follow in unison, the tactic continues to work and continues to work quite well. Yes, you might need to invest a little bit more capital up front, but there are some very innovative financing programs nowadays where you can use private funds in order to fund most of that. And you can get into these deals for only $20,000. I mean, what an absolute opportunity. So, bottom line for me, Patrick, it definitely 100% still works.
It definitely still works. You made a really good point around, the financing side of it. As we know, the big banks, they don't want to refinance, they don't want to finance a project that's going to be, flipped. So they actually, that private money component of it is actually a great way to access that short-term capital to get that renovation done, and then going to the bank for a longer-term mortgage after it's handled, where you've brought the value up. And though some would consider that a sophisticated investor move, but it's not a difficult concept to grasp around private money. Where people get shut down is, they, rather than do the math, they get caught in the interest rate of private money, which is, certainly higher. But when you do the math on it, it totally makes sense to actually take that short-term capital and pay a higher rate. So then you're going to one of the big banks to get the refinancing.
Yeah, and I love what John O'Connell, one of our RAIN members, is saying. It still works in Regina. He's been doing a ton of these in Regina. John's
Yeah.
been a fantastic RAIN member for many years. But what's interesting, Patrick, you speak about private financing. Here's where education comes in. We always talk about it. Real estate investors that focus on growing themselves and growing their knowledge, they don't need to tap into more money. They don't need to tap into more time. They need the knowledge. And right now, as we actually speak, we have one of our trusted partners who's doing a class on how to use private funds, how to use private funds for the BRRRR method
Good.
specifically, how to use private funds for fix and flip. That's happening right now. Those people
Right now.
that are learning from across the country, they are tapping into that possibility now. And it's really up to investors to educate themselves. This is where owning your need is such a powerful saying, Patrick, because a lot of investors just they get shut down around it, and they just stand on the sidelines and say one day, one day, one day, and it just is a dream that's out there. But in fact, it could be right here. You could take advantage of it today, but you have to take that first step, which is getting educated, getting that knowledge.
You do need you definitely need the education. You need to put yourself in that environment where you can set yourself up to succeed. Having like-minded individuals in your space is really important, and we have to do that. I think the biggest thing is, it's easy to find yourself on the sidelines given what's going on. I mean, election is happening, and so we got lots of politics happening. We've got lots of polarization and divisiveness around what's happening with COVID and vaccinations and all that thing. So it's very unsettling given the headlines that are out there, and everything seems pretty doom and gloom. What we're trying to do really on the missing millions concept and the idea is, don't find yourself, like, don't stand on the sidelines waiting for something to happen. You've actually got to get off the sidelines and make something happen. And right now, real estate is a way to not only secure a financial future, but there is money to be made right today in the market. Don't get caught up in the headlines, as we like to say. Don't get caught up in the misinformation that's happening out there. There truly is some great opportunities given what this pandemic has actually brought to the surface around real estate. I mean, it's a changing time, JG, and you and I talk about that a lot. The world is changing so quickly right now around real estate. And as much as our politicians are going to solve the supply issue, let's not hold our breath. Let's take some action and get some deals done.
Yeah, I agree. So, but folks, at the end of the day, in order to help you with this education and this knowledge, and you getting on the path, sharpening that saw, we have a lot of events. We have the Winning Real Estate event. We have one or two of them coming up this month, towards the end of this month. We have our Raising Capital events. Both of those are free for you to attend. That's on September 23rd as well September 30th for Raising Capital. Again, free for you to attend. We have our Great Real Estate Reset Summit happening November 5 and 6. That is an absolute incredible event where, Patrick, we are going to talk about just this, how the real estate market is changing for the future. What's it going to look like in 5 years? What's it going to look like in 10 years? And how can you position yourself today to be in the absolute best position to because the opportunities are going to present themselves in the next 5 to 10 years are going to be absolutely monumental. And getting to access to the November 5th and 6th event, the Great Real Estate Reset, is dirt cheap. I mean, right now the tickets are 75% off. It's incredible.
Great deals to be had, great opportunities to be had right now, JG. We can't stress it enough. As a national organization, we have a community literally from shoreline to shoreline. We see every day people taking action, growing their portfolio, finding opportunities, because there's lots of opportunities that exist out there. When we look at what's going on economically, when we look at the world of real estate, it's a little bit challenging in some ways, but that's where the opportunities live, because most are stepping back. They're going, I'm out. I can't afford to get in here. The affordability issue continues to be, first and foremost, is the big conversation. And JG, as you know, and we've talked about it, we just met with some guys that are going to be attending our summit and like to be keynotes at the summit. I mean, the future of real estate is changing dramatically, and everybody has an opportunity to invest in real estate and own some, have an equitable position in the world of real estate. Those opportunities are coming up. You just need the knowledge to support it.
You know what, Patrick, we always say it, and folks, opportunities are rarely found, often created, and it's up to you to create those opportunities. They are out there, but you have to have the knowledge to create those opportunities. So, folks, we look forward to having you at one of our upcoming events, whether it's Winning in Real Estate, Raising Capital, or the Great Real Estate Reset Summit. We hope to see you there. And Patrick, you and I are hosting all these events. We're always there to help, encourage, grow investors so that they can grow their financial security, financial certainty, and financial freedom. So look forward to having you there, folks. Go to raincanada.com for all the details. raincanada.com for all the details. And we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, JG.